So, we'll see. But it seems like these melanated people can't wait to get their resources back to the so-called white man they keep saying is oppressing them. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I really don't know. Peace to everybody. Anybody have any questions about anything before we start? The Sultan of Jazz? You mean like Miles Davis, or you talking about like? Because there was a lot of jazz musicians that was Moors, Pharoah Sanders and Al Coltrane, John Coltrane. Um, yeah, Dizzy was with the temple. Um, what's the one who used to smoke all the weed? One of them used to smoke all the weed all the time. He was more too. No, it wasn't Coltrane. It was one of the other ones. They all smoked weed. I ain't saying that. I'm just saying there was one in particular that started to forget his name, but it's not important. Somebody else said, if I come across it again, I'll do the knowledge to it. Sultan of Jack. You might have been talking about uh, Caliph Ibn Zayat, the guy who invented music. That Moor. You can read about him in the Golden Age of the Moor. They got a whole section on him. Yeah, he basically invented music the way we understand it today until who came through and started messing with the octaves and all that shit. Then introduced the devil's note to throw all of that shit off. He also was the one who invented like the modern burnous that we so accustomed Moors wearing. If anybody's seen the Othello movie with Lawrence Fishburne, which I think everybody should see, you should watch those movies because the language in it itself is very thing. It's they always got problems with everything that original people did that got retranslated into so-called Caucasian tongues, but whatever, you know what I'm saying? Um, the theater and the structure of these plays and stuff like that were letting you know like that was like the social media plays were like the social media, the Twitter of the day. So if you had certain issues and stuff, you would get that off or couldn't say something because of the government. You could put it in the form of a play or a drama or a tragedy and stuff. But to made sure they did that in certain societies. That's why all of the actors had to be men because they had to be in the order with the Freemason stuff. So that's why a lot of the early Shakespearean stuff they had to have the men was playing the women parts because they didn't trust women with that type of information. Usually in the European sections, in the so-called Islamic worlds, it was a little different. Yeah. So yeah, when you watch that movie, Othello, there's a scene towards the end where the whole movie you see him basically dressed as basically like a emissary of the Doge. The Doge was like like the Pope of Venice. You know what I'm saying? Venetians had their own version of the Vatican, so the Doge was the one running that, and the Doge would employ Moors to fight against the Ottoman rule. The Ottomans at this time is also Moors, but they're being more infused with the Turks, with the Turkics that's being converted and brought out of the steppes of the Urals and all of that. So you had a lot of Moorish mercenaries that got employed by the Doge to fight for Venice. So Othello was basically one of these types of Moors. But So in the whole movie, you basically see him in Castilian type habit, Venetian habit. But towards the end, there's a scene where he's in the the atrium right before he goes up to strangle Desdemona. Yeah, Desdemona, and he's got on his Moorish burnous, and you can see the paradox between that visage of him in that way, and how he was acting like the candles, as opposed to how he acted when he was around the rest of the Castilians under the jurisdiction of the Doge. So movies like Titus Andronicus, with the more in that Aaron, those are pretty good depictions. Even though most of the people in the movie, like Tamara and a lot of these things, the Prince of Denmark, you understand that at the time of Shakespeare and these people writing all these things, all these people was melanated. But they being forced out through intrigue and intermarriage. So that's why people would go to the plays and you would get to find out, what houses was going to fall and this and that. Right? It also introduced a form of language. Like you understand through the Shakespeare thing, most of the words that we're using now were invented during that time. You know what I'm saying? English words, I mean. But remember, all English words is coming out of the Latin and the Arabic and all of that. So, okay. Yeah, most of them were more in secret. A lot of the ones, especially in Europe. Rhonda asks, is the term Morisco derogatory for Moors, like calling a man a little boy? Yes, yes. But ironically, it was also to kind of dissuade the rise of the Morisco rebellion. Like that first generation of Moors that was expelled, right? They went in different directions. Some of them pushed down into from the colony over there expulsion. A lot of them pushed down into what became Morocco, and through that, they kind of reorganized and kind of basically through invasion the Songhai Empire that was comprised of Moors as well as traditional so-called people from the African continent, and thus, restructured what North Africa was like. While here in America, the same thing was happening. They were being pushed out of Grenada, what we know as Grenada. And from there, they were kind of like forced to go into different means of control. So what was happening was the land was being annexed and taken. So if the land was being taken, then the only way to repel that would be to establish embargoes and take over the sea. So a lot of the original Templars and these people who we considered pirates and stuff, the reason why they were so gung ho and chivalrous and all of that, because a lot of them were inducted into these wars to fight against these Moorish dominions for their own freedom. You know what I'm saying? Against them. And so they wholeheartedly joined on with what needed to be, but because they was locked in through the Freemasonry and the bond of life servitude, this is what allowed them to take control and then start to remap everything. Because if the maps was the ways that everybody was getting around, and eventually the ruling power wanted to cease commerce, cease unregulated travel, the only way to do that was to, again, stop people from reading, right? Once you stop them from reading, then you seize all the old maps so people who can't read can't get access to the old shit. Then get your friar or your Franciscan friar or whoever to translate it into a vulgar language, and then in the process have a heavy editing situation where they can then divest and take out all the stuff or places they don't want you to be in. That's why you don't see images of things like before the 1600s on maps. You don't see the Great Wall of China. You know what I'm saying? But they tell you that that shit was built right during the reign of the Xiang and all that. But that couldn't be because then we would have seen it. So if that thing was basically wasn't there until the 1600s, then that flips up a lot of their stories with the history. So they got to go along with the abject story that we don't need to ask questions like that. So because Granada fell, you had a lot of Moors then that got pushed further down into South America, like I said, and then a lot of them went east. See what I'm saying? And hooked up with their brethren in the southern states, southern to southeastern states. Whereas the ones that kept going down just hooked up with their peoples that was down in Peru. Like this is an image on your right, on your left of the Pahatawan. You know what I'm saying? But these are still Moorish people. But what we don't get is that what made these Moorish dominions specific was that if you were there and if you were, let's say, there under the protection of the Moroccan Empire or as a visitor or whatever to the Moroccan Empire, so long as you wasn't doing no bullshit, you were seen as a Moroccan under Sharifan law because that was the law of the Sultan. So think about what I'm saying. What I'm saying is anybody in Moroccan or Moorish territory, let's say Moorish to encompass all the communities that associated or identified themselves under the line of the ancient priesthood, i.e., Moorish lineage. When I say more, I'm speaking of the individual context. And I say more-ish, I'm not talking about a bunch of like Moors. I'm talking about a bunch of Moors that are alike. You understand? See what I'm saying? Ish don't mean like. Ish mean ish. The first definition of ish is to denote a nationality. That ish like stuff is all that critical race theory bullshit that is all commie based. It don't got nothing to do with real education or historical context. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's the Patawan Press. So if they had a crest, see what I'm saying? They had their own monarchy, meaning they was their own royalty, they was their own people. Notice the four Moors heads represent the four corners or the four gates, right? Okay. See what I mean? One, two, three, four, and then diagonal, like connect four. Okay, so that means that you could be a Hebrew, but if you in a Moorish dominion, you're seen as a Moroccan slash Moor. You could be a Hindu, Muslim, you understand? But if you're there amongst us and you around and we accept that, you're seen under the same hospitality, or supposed to be under the same hospitality that we are. The true Indians are the people from the Harappas Indus Valley. You know who that is? That's Buddha. Understand? That's not even like Hindus. That's like Buddha. So you talking about like ancient so-called, uh, Asian or Asiatic. The Hindus and them people, again, they idol worship. They worship many different gods who may or may not have been physical entities at one time that extended a jurisdiction based upon their use of high technology, like Vimanas, what they call Vimanas, what we call UFOs or UAPs. But when we read about the Ramayana wars and all of that in the what is that, the Rig Veda, the Bhagavad Gita, right? When you go and you read it, all these people was melanated, but you have melanated people fighting like blue people, fighting green people, giants, like it was off the chain. You know what I'm saying? So to call us Indian or any misnomer specifically is to move us away from any form of unified thinking, unified understanding. Because that would then make us ask questions about how is it that we have or had all of this power and where did it go? Why does it seem like we can never just get it together? Well, the reason is because we are beset in our community by the very same people that helped put us in this position in the first place. The top 15 slave owners back back in the 1600s, it's all melanated men out of Virginia. Understand? Anthony Johnson and them was getting money off of these slaves. You understand? They had tobacco plantations to run. They was importing these white people as many as they could. And they was putting them to work. And they had black militias around 1677 that was keeping them locked up in the Virginia plantations and all of that. All the prisoners of war, the black prisoners and stuff like that, they got sent down south to the plantations where they was basically living as second-class citizens under the, you had the planters class, that's the Moors, that's the rich aristocracy Moors, slave owners. And then under them, you had the so-called blue blood aristocracy, that's their children. And then under them, you had like the white people, and then you had the Confederacy, which was the political system that they had to function over that. But back then, all of the money, because a lot of these Southern families linked up with French royal families, which culminated in the royal marriage of Louis and Anna Maria, which led to the establishment of Louisiana, right? They were a part of this European side, and they thought that the European side was more technologically or servile advanced, and so they linked up with them. You know what I'm saying? That's how you had a lot of, like, when you watch Anne Rice books and those stories about the so-called antebellum South, it was racist, but then certain light-skinned people had money and certain black people had money, but then it was like they was racist with everybody else, but then it was with the white people. Like, which one was it? So get books like The Blue Vein Society, Black Confederates, Black Slave Owners, Muslim Masters, Christian Slaves. And the thing about those people, based upon them coming and bonding with the French, that also made them Catholic. You see what I'm saying? So these royal black blue blood Boule is now mixing in with the autochthonous born, basically equivalent to them over here, though, Boule. And then they getting together and then they creating a blended society that we'll call the antebellum South. And then from there, they then tried to keep that society or that human bouquet in a certain manner by carrying on certain breeding programs left over to them by the Spanish occupation. See what I'm saying? And thus, this is where we get the whole breakdowns of the quadroon, the mandroon, the octoroon, the Creole, the Cajun. See what I'm saying? These were almost seen as races at the time. And around this time, we see the break of power where you have a lot of the old European black monarchs seeing the writing on the wall in Europa and deciding to transfer the capital to a new place, like with King uh, Josephus of Portugal, when he moved the kingdom to Brazil. He moved the capital from Lisbon to Brazil, which, based upon the amalgamation and all of the wars and all of the racial strife that they was trying to impose on them to bring about the industry to create the finance to eventually do what they wanted to do anyway, which was then to break away from the whole thing. And then eventually Brazil came its own country, right? But they speak Portuguese, though. They don't speak Brazilian, do they? Why not? If they Brazil, how come they don't speak Brazilian? There's a Brazilian butt lip, there's a Brazilian bikini, right? They got their own thing with that. How come they all still speak in Portuguese? And then they speak a form of Portuguese that's crazy because the king at the time, when they started forcing the Rusas over there to speak it the way that they speak it. So imagine blacks from Europe accompanied by their white slave mercenaries. They done taken over. And now the so-called blacks or melanated people in Brazil who lost the fight, now they got to learn the language the way that this dude's speaking. But this dude who's speaking it, he got a lisp. See what I'm saying? He's speaking with a lisp. But because he was under the crown and everybody got to do what he said, they incorporate the lisp into the language. So you got a whole now language from that point on. The Brazilian free of the lisp that existed prior to him is gone forever. Because now to this day, when people speak Portuguese, they speak in Brazil, they speak it with the lisp. Which means he gave generations after him a permanent speech impediment. You see what I'm saying? That because the people was too, the emperor has no clothes because they so scared to tell him nothing about himself or speak it without the list because they don't want to make him feel bad. To this day, they this nigga sound retarded. As a Quay say, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, same thing Spain. That's why they be looking at them. That's why they be looking at them like they're crazy sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So think about it. India, the India that they talking about, when this India is supposed to be running, that India was again by the Mauryan dynasty. These Moors who basically took over all of this. Bactria that was that was set up by Clitus of Niger, who was one of the generals of Alexander. And they said that he was blacker than obsidian. So what? He was the only one. So everybody was racist against black people, but they decided this one black general could lead all these white people, and these white people are called Mauryans, but no, they're Indians, right? Like, you see what I mean? Like, it just don't make sense. But thanks to books from the past, as well as books written by Moors of today, people like the great Prince Uriel Gay, blessed today, you know, we read about the Mauryan dynasty, find out that we took that over right after we did China. However, Moors, who were the high priests of Anu, knew at that time how to harmonize themselves with whatever culture they was coming into. And thus you see the changing of architecture, the influence of the Moorish architecture on the so-called ancient Harappan architecture from that point on, in places like Borobudur and Angkor Wat and the Naga temples and all of that. So when we're speaking of Indians, up until Columbus, this is the Indians we're talking about. But those Indians, as you see, were and are Moors. Moors being or beings a part of what we would call today the old or the great Moorish Empire. Like today, let me ask you this. What is China? Anybody know? What is China? Because what I'm showing you is China. But in layman's terms today, what is China? Well, yes, that's an ancient name of this site land indeed. But I mean, like, what is it? Is it a country? Like, what is it? No, not what it is existentially. Like, what us as Moors today, like, what do people today see China as? Let me give you another way. Is China like um is China like Russia? They're both communists, right? Are they the same thing? Is China the same as like Germany? Put it like this. Is China, he said dictatorship. Yes, that is what it is. But I'm saying like what is it in terms of the rest of the world? Is it a country? Okay, boom. One more set of country. Anybody else? Anybody else? A kingdom, a republic. Yes. Ironically, all of those things are correct, and then they're also not correct. Okay, they taught you China is a republic. Okay, if that's the case, then China would be like America. Isn't America a republic? It's becoming more like China, but that's only because of what's happening right now, which ultimately is going to pass. But essentially, is the United States like China? They both republics? Absolutely not. So it's called the People's Republic of China. Actually, no, it's called the Chinese. Well, yes, it's called the People's Republic of China. At one point, it was called the People's Socialist Republic of China. At one point, now, but what runs that is the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. Back when we used to watch old army movies and stuff like that, you would see sometimes back in the day on the army trucks it would say USSR CCP. That's when they was trying to lump Russia and China in as the same type of communists. Right, right, in Red Dawn, right? But here's the bug shit. In the first Red Dawn, the America was being invaded by the communists coming up from Cuba. And the allies that the United States had was China. So that might have been some backdoor, you know, propaganda too. Then in the remake, North Korea, well, they didn't really say it was North Korea, but It's Asians, right? The Asians coming in and doing that, and right, and the British was helping us in these alternate realities. Because that's how you got to look at movies. Movies are like alternate realities. So when you see a movie and some horrific or whatever shit happens, that's great that it's happening in that movie because that means that it's not happening in this reality specifically. You understand what I'm saying? But to get to the root of the question, China is an empire. China is the only empire on earth today because China rules over its provinces and people. 70% of Chinese people are not even real Chinese. They are Han, and Han Chinese are virulently, xenophobically racist, vehemently racist, and xenophobically racist as that because that's what they've been programmed to be since Mao Zedong, who's a trainer and a Jesuit. That's a whole nother story. So on your screen again is the Mauryan Empire. So that means a lot of the ancient Chinese stuff, when they try to make it seem like, oh, Sanoke Muramato was the one black slave Chinese person. No, they all were dark skinned and all of that for the majority of the time prior to the modern time. But when somebody would come in that now is jet black, now that's different from the regular brown skin or lighter, you know what I'm saying, olive skinned people that is seeing that. So naturally, they're going to say that this person is darker than them. And when they would say that this person was white and all of that, remember at this time, the people who are saying this are using white as a construct for status. Tartary's so-called imperial mechanisms is being ran by all of the world governments working in tandem. They just have their own agendas as to how they are going to use it and how they've expanded on them since the 50s. Remember, see, America had a slow rise to industrialization. So put a pin in that. Let's read this. Mexican life, big up to brother Nuquam L. Send me this on Facebook. Mexican life is one of Moorish origin, Ojala, and wood to God. That is to say, wood to Allah, like word to Allah. The original of this is said to have been say Sheikh Allah, if God would, right? Recognizing this as having been the origin of prayer and realizing the expressions of Ojala Kesi or Ojala Ki Farer, would to God it may be, and would to God it might be, is constantly on the lips of Mexican men and women. It is not too much to assert that within the territorial limits of the United States today, the ratio of population, more prayers ascend to the prophet of the Muslim than are offered to Jesus Christ. This pious God knows how that may be of Arabic chroniclers is literally translated to the Mexican Dios solo sabe. So when they say, when the Mexican gang members call you Mayate, they calling you the Mayan because they know the Mayans are the Moors. Or they refer to you as the Matamoros, the killed Moors. See? Because what make you a Moor is not just your olive skin tone and all of that. It's how you exhibit yourself throughout the different cultures. Are you the priest of all that you come in contact with, or are you the parishioner for what their gods say it is? So right here telling you, all Mexico that started with the Moors. So, and that bears witness to the maps we've been talking about, showing Granada and all that stuff over here. The dress of the Mexicans. By inquiring what was the clothing of the Moorish working classes and then comparing it to that which is now the use of Mexicans, the exact amount of survival can once be determined. The adage, the apparel doth oft proclaim the man, was true of the Arab Moor and of the Mexican as the Dane or the Anglo. For common people, males ordinarily dressed was a gown, long sack gathered at the belt at the waist. Beneath were loose drawers gathered at the ankle, overdressed large sleeve mantle up in front. From the street fell sandals were usually worn, but these were replaced by the house heelless slippers, such are still found in the bazaars of Tangiers and Morocco. Again, no difference between the so-called Mexicans and the Moors, because these people at the time weren't daft enough to do that. It's only under ours really reconstructional history that the Moorish component of our so-called black identity was expunged, so that way we wouldn't hold on to anything noble. See what I'm saying? Because if we was dressing in Moorish habit and all of that, that means we making our own clothes. That means they can't make false fabrics and shit to cross fabrics to make us sick. You gotta remember, you have a specific genal and chromosomal nature, so you only supposed to have natural fabrics on. That's why the Bible say you ain't supposed to mix your fabrics. That's why if you have a day you just wearing all cotton or all linen, right, closer to your body or whatever, and then one day you wear like linen with polyester with nylon or whatever, you'll have a horrible day because your body can't breathe because that shit is sucking out and shutting down your natural inhibitors that the cotton would naturally allow to flow through into the ether and then replace what was taken with energy. That's why they want you wearing all of these clothes and all that. Remember, notice the tighter niggas' jeans got, the more gay niggas got. Think about it. Think about it. The day niggas had to sit down on the bed to pull their jeans up, it was a wrap. To the point they stopped making underwear with penis holes in it. Men. Now how long it took me sometimes to actually find underwear with a penis hole in it. Show you how they trying to just alter you, force you into it. Exactly. That's what all the makeup's about. That's what all of the wigs and all of that is about. It started to make the females get all styled out by the trans and the gay men, and then tried to make their way what they see as beautiful, like that was going to be beautiful to heterosexual men. But heterosexual men looked at that more like prostitute type, turned them off. So anything outside of that, they're looking crazy. You know what I'm saying? And then look what has happened. Started to force women to be more like men. Like when we was coming up in rap, the females almost had to dress like males. Think about that. To be taken serious. They tried to put on more clothes. And if they was form fitting, they did it in a manner that made it, you know what I'm saying, it went along with their style choice. Like go back to rappers like Antoinette, Sweet Tea, Sparky D. Look at how these chicks, you see what I'm saying? And then propose them to people like MC Light, Boss. You see the transition. to where it was like all the females in boots and all of that. And then Biggie invented Little Kim, and then from that point on, it's been a steady race to the top of the bottom. Look, in Cadiz, a Spanish city tracing back to the early centuries of what? Phoenician and Carthaginian occupancy. Cadiz is in America. It's also a title. It is related to that whitewash which has kept constant readiness on every household. One of the greatest creations of Moorish architectural genius, the Alhambra, is, is a monument in stucco. The churches of Mexico follow after the model of those in Spain, which was shown not much interfered during the centuries of Arab-Moorish contact. So Arabs, i.e. Moors, were in Mexico and Spain. Nevertheless, which means they were the same people. Nevertheless, the little half orange, now naranja, orange. Oranges didn't grow anywhere else in the world but Florida. But we have reports from the Song dynasty of Moors going back to the 11th century talking about that they was bringing oranges there the size of pumpkins. And pumpkins the size of like, you know, the biggest watermelons you could think. So that means they was getting these oranges from Florida, which is also Spain, right? Nevertheless, the little half-orange naranja domes of the Moors are to be seen in some of the beautiful mission churches like that of San Xavier del Bacnia in Tucson, Arizona, and the artesonado of the bread tray roof is known in the beautiful convoluted double horseshoe arch of the Ajimes never was adopted. The canopy used in religious processions is still called by the term baladachin or baladachino, stuff made in Baghdad. Stuff made in Baghdad. It may be of interest to know that Moorish convicts were employed in the construction of the castle of San Juan de Aola in the harbor of Veracruz, Mexico. The same Veracruz where the Olmecs is at. So you mean to tell me convicts knew how to build Moorish castles? What kind of convicts are these? Prisoners of war. Yeah, Baghdad in South Carolina. That's right, man. Just like Mount Arabia or the Arabian Peninsula is right there in Georgia. Look up Mount Arabia in Georgia. How long has been Mount Arabia? But we just read that back in these times, everybody was Muslim. There was more Muslims than Christians. We just read that. And everybody knew that the Moors was here and they were still just being taken advantage of, fighting back. They don't know who built the Alhambra. They just know Moors built it. They added on to it for 800 years over there. Right? Yeah. So if Mexican life is of Moorish origin, that means United States life ain't. But Mexico was here longer than the United States. Look, and get this book to Peru. Lima, the city of kings. Don't call this Spanish America, warned a diplomat who knows these countries as he knows his blood and shares their religious faith. Call it Moorish America. The conquistadors came from Andalusia, formerly the Moorish kingdom of Granada. Boom! That's it. The name of the leader who subjugated the kingdom was Quinto Balancazar, right? The patio was not Hispanic but Moorish. My first sight of Calamanca took me back to the flash of Morocco. That's it. Like, the men here are polygamists because the Arabs are racially polygamists. Everything the Mexicans got, they got from the Moors. Think about how the cartels move. They move like old Moors. You understand? They following under Moorish rule. The words came back to Lima from here. Indeed, much of the touch oriental lace balconies projected from the upper story of the old colonial houses, tile patios, reminding one of Tunisia, and the frontless shops closed by night, the series of folding doors with its 140,000 inhabitants. Moors. The first instruction sent over by the Spanish Inquisition related to the ferreting out of Jews and Moors, but not Lutherans, mind you. See? What is the mantle women wear over the head and face from the start? It comes from the kamor of the Arabs, the saddle, stirrups, and harness of the Arab, as are, of course, the horses. Andalusian stallions are the most prized horses in the world. Look it up. They're born, and they all jet black, but they're born white. The only ones that train better is the Lipper is German, so it's like the Lippenspitzer stallion. That's the second best. Why? Because the Moors was breeding horses over thousands of years. It's like we did everything else for these niggas. So right there, no, call it Moorish America. The conquistadors came from Andalusia, which was the former Moorish kingdom of Granada. The Moors fell to their light-skinned, ungrateful children, and their children's beasts of burden, who were the white slaves, and then under them the POWs of those former disgraced Moors who had now been forced into piracy. And they linked up with the old devil Faustian bargain, whatever demons that they was dealing with, based on them having relations, you know, with the infernal ones and all that. So yeah, there was dirty Moors, just like there was, you know what I'm saying? Dirty priests, just like this dirty Christian. Everybody was dirty. But it doesn't change the overall perspective of everything. Everything has its time to rule physical density. Because if we really want to be uh, hyper extrapolatory, all of this that we are experiencing, the rapid decline of the reality, is showing that things that didn't used to have mass now have substance. Things that were not important are now important. Things that should not be important now have importance and is gaining mass without substance simultaneously. So that translating to interpersonal relationships has created a breakdown of comprehension as to what one is seeing, but one cannot even believe their own eyes because everything is being doubled and mirrored because we're passing through this element of what we perceive or used to perceive as time. Understand? When people are talking to you about the dead and you watching movies about the dead, and the dead are there working with people, stuff like that, none of that's true. If it was, the closest that I would see to it, I just saw this movie last night called Ernest, or We Have a Ghost with Anthony Mike. There's a ghost in there. Um, and that was the best depiction, or if I understood what a ghost or apparition would be in terms of the communication of how it went down. Because the ghost, it didn't know anything. It could only react to what was happening, but it had the capability of going outside. Most ghost movies don't happen outside, but this ghost was able to travel. So I was thinking about that in terms of the ether and how that would actually work. Because when people are talking about communing with the dead and channeling the dead and getting information from the dead, that's the same as you asking an AI question and getting information from the AI. They took the pendulum, the Ouija board, the tarot card, all of that's going there. All you got to do now is plug into the AI and start asking the AI questions, and the AI start giving it to you. But you got to remember, these AI entities are being broadcasted to us through giant D-wave computers that are basically alive, that are giant black monitors, that are, some of them are at least 3 to 5 feet high, weighing like 2,500 pounds. And when they work, they hum, but the hum is like a heartbeat because they're moving in signet in individuality, but as one consciousness. So these things are pulling energy and information from these disembodied spirits that have been left over from the fall of the last creation. Understand? And because they know that the dead don't know nothing, the dead can't communicate because the dead are no longer a part of the physical reality. They only exist they only are immortal in the physical reality. See what I'm saying? Through the memory and through the image, effigy of the individual dead. But as they are dead in this reality, they become alive in the other. Therefore, they cannot be seen alive in the other and then still be present in this one. You understand? Even if you were a twin, you can't be in two places at once. You understand? But you can be all places at once through the mind. You did? So now that this is a higher realm, like when's the last time you tapped into your memories that you had when you was in the womb? You don't have those memories. You have those memories on a super conscious level, but you don't have those memories because that was the first time you became human, or was probably incarnated as a being that we would perceive as human today. But remember, human means monster. So let's be more specific. As a man coming out of the ether on the triple stage of darkness, being created, right? That's the two R's. See what I'm saying? The R and R, the roar of the lion. Understand? This is also the R that you see at the top of the One Sun Temple of America corporation documents that's tilted to the side or reverse. But these two R's create that O, which is the circle of life, which then creates time. Okay? So once you step out of that circle, right, you are no longer opposing time. You are now just in ether. As ether now, you will take the form of whatever the next incarnation form that you're supposed to inhabit, but you always essentially will be yourself, which is a part of the being whole, which is why nobody can come back and tell us what death was like. Because when the dead die, they're dead. See what I'm saying? But death is then the afterlife. So no man can talk about what happens beyond the veil of death unless he has come back from that. The only one we say, or they say, has come back from that is Yehoshua. And in that, they trying to double down on it and make him come back again. Think about that. Think about all of the time it took to get him here, and now you're gonna come kill him, and now you're gonna force him to come back again. Of course he's gonna come back to get rid of everybody. Wouldn't you? So the dualistic nature of third density of reality, we're experiencing that, but we're also experiencing the fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh dimension simultaneously. We just can't perceive it. Understand? Due to the limitations put on this reality by people who look like us at one time and have created a veiled priesthood, perverted it, took the high priesthood of Anu, of the sky gods, and turned it into, all the different versions they got of it today. But we said, cool, let them do that if that's what they want to do, because they can't stay in the ether with us, because we're perceiving time like this. What I'm showing you is a variation of time, which exists on the physical dimension. Yet, the physical dimension is not where time exists. It exists within the mindscape of all of us. Because when we're born, we draw up a certain amount of ether to last us a lifetime. And when that ether run out, we go back. For all you know, you want a ship. For all you know, you want a 11th dimensional ship, sleep. Sleep. You understand? And it's going to take the so-called judgment for everybody to wake up and realize we're now in Tanis, which if you saw the movie of Pandora, there was a movie called Pandora. They like that word. And in that movie, they was all asleep on the ship, and in the end, they woke up. They was actually on the planet, but they was asleep inside the ship that was docked in the water, under the water, or had to break out. But they thought they were still in space. Again, showing you that water and space is the same thing. But we can't go up and out to get out. You got to go beyond and through. You understand? So the high priest of Amen, the high priest of Anu, it's the same thing. They're just two mirrors of the same aspect. And that element was carried on by people who, for whatever reason, through all the incarnations, refer to themselves as moons. So then that means that's us. The prophet said what our ancestors was, we are today without any contradiction, right? So that's it. This is a map of west coast of California. So they got us looking everywhere, going crazy, and it's like we're already here. That's why we're so displaced, because we keep thinking that it's somewhere else we're supposed to be. But if we were supposed to be there, we'd be there. There's a show on called The Consultant on Netflix right now. See, look, what's that? Granada, right? Look, Coronado. When we talk about the lost city of Coronado, well, how it's lost if we got a map of it? They got us missing the forest for the trees. They got us caught up in being all of these different things. The truth is who owned it all, who was already here, and who was putting it down was us. When it was Phoenicians, it was Moors. When it was Carthaginians, it was Moors. When it was ancient Mexicans, it was Moors. When it was Mayans, it was Moors. When it was Aztecs, it was Moors. When it was Atlanteans, it was Moors. You understand what I'm saying? But it was too deep. We was too deep, so they had to find ways of breaking us up. So they started using religion. When their religion didn't work, or once religion worked, then they started the body, the genetics, start getting you to take the wrong foods and all of that. And then, you know what I'm saying? They already got your mind, so now they got your body. Now it's a wrap. Then they get your children. It's a wrap. In Mexico and Central America, the commingling of the Moorish, the Indian, and the African races of mankind. But the Moors is always first. Because we the ones that carried the brunt. We the ones that fought back. We the ones that always get blamed. We the ones that brought them out of darkness. So according to them, we simultaneously brought the world out of darkness while at the same time enslaving the world at the same time. Damn, we was really gods then. We was building and destroying. You know what I'm saying? Like start looking at it like that. See what I'm saying? Like we was doing it big then. We was the good guys and the bad guys. Damn. How we get back to how do we get back to that? I'm for that. Everybody loved the bad guy. Everybody loved Kang. Who don't love Kang? The movie sucked, but everybody loved Kang. Why? Because Kang is that thing. Kang is the man. You know what I'm saying? Like it's that simple. People tired of seeing people act like they. And he wasn't even as Kang as he probably could have Kang. He could probably been he probably more Kang than that. And they was like, nah, it's too much Kang. You gotta bring that Kang down. I'm scared these white folks. But that's what they need. That's what and it's still not gonna save them. Why? Because these characters, like I'm showing you the whole thing. Because what, for instance, okay, we talking about Kang, right? Let's get into it, right? This is how Moorish Kang is. This is why they they like him, but they don't want to. This is why they had to put him in the pink. Understand? Because there's too many Kangs. Because the Kang represent that thing. Kang represent the so-called original man that was here for 3,800 years. This the one that's coming back. This the one that's not coming to play. Understand? So they want to be able to manipulate the story. So when they show up or when it manifests out of us, it's what it is. So you remember how Kang had this scars down his face, two scars. That's this. See Morgan. These are the scars. These are the scarifications of the warrior classes of the Moors. Of the Moors. Today, who would be the Hausa, the Amazite, right? The in old times the Almoravid, and they came in all different types. So these scars are actually in the story. They're going to tell you that these are actually quantum strips that he implanted in his skin. That's why he's able to think everything into existence. And remember, he's born in the 30th century, where everything is cool, everything is up. Everybody's peace, technology is doing everything for everybody. But what happened? He got bored, and so he went to to the museum and seen Doctor Doom's time machine. I'm telling the story of this dude now. Find his time machine, and then from the time machine was able to go back in time, right, to not just any place. He wound up when he go back and become a god. He decide, nah, this place boring, so I'm gonna go back, right? And he created the machine to then go back. But he now become a god. He become Rama Tut, and he rules so-called Kemet from the days based on his technology from the 30th century. Now, the thing with time travel or quantum entanglements is that you have to understand that you can't go back to before the time machine existed. The only way you could do that is by making a time machine, going back to when the time machine was created, right? Which means when you use the time machine, you would wind up right back where you, as soon as you leave, you would come right back. So that means you'd have to create a time machine, use it, go back, recalibrate it for another thing, go back, recalibrate it for another thing, go back to keep pushing it back. Understand? That's one side of it. But for the sake of the story, he goes back and rules Kemet, out of which he inadvertently spawns this guy called Apocalypse, who's like Dark Side, who's another big astral, so-called cosmic black man, right? Who don't play, who's not with the game plan. You understand? So because he's not with that, he, you know, he bounced. He get kicked out by the Fantastic Four, blah, blah, blah. But what we're seeing with the idea of Kang, remember, every time you kill Kang, what happens? When you kill a Kang, what happens? Hmm. He keep coming back, right? Why? We're talking about Kang, but we're talking about other things as well. We have noticed. Yes, they keep coming back. Why though? He said because he's Kang. Yes, yes, because he's Kang, meaning that he is absolute, because he reached a level of understanding at a time of peace when all in front of him was going to be nothing but peace, right? So to secure that, due to him being a Capricorn, I think, his main variant being a Capricorn, decided to go back through his bloodline because he's traveling through time. So I just told you how time works. He can't go back because he created the time machine in the 30th century. Therefore, if he was to use the time machine in the 30th century, what does that mean? That means he would have to use it, and as soon as he used it, he would come back to the 30th century because that's the only place that another time machine exists. But if he did that, now he would have what? Two time machines, right? Based on that, now from the theoretical physics, he could now program one for the future, one for the past, because he has the parameters of both. You understand? And so he uses his bloodline. Because remember, if we were going through the history now as Egyptians during the time of, let's say, this guy Ramatut, right? He just exists and he just comes into power, and we're just there like, oh, this dude is God. Look at all the shit he's doing, right? Because we see him as Ramatut, but that's not who he really is. He's really Kang, which means there was no Ramatut until there was a Kang. You understand? You see the paradox of what I'm talking about. Yes, they did make the time machines. It's us. Think about this. From the beginning, let's say, right? For all time, right? There is there is 100 billion people, right? There's 100 billion people, let's say, right? Just like we saw at the end of the Colosseum. At the end of the movie, we saw the Colosseum of Kang. This is where all the variants of Kangs, all of the Kangs, meaning kings, meaning black genes, meaning black so-called males, have gotten together, initiated by the one who reached knowledge of self and realized that the only way for them to survive time, right? Because I told you, everybody gets a certain amount of ether at the time that they can. Once that ether is used up, boom. So, because of all of the people in the timeline, right, that he existed in, they all trying to wipe him out. So, the only way to establish the survival, right, because technically Kang is an entity and Kang is an individual. And Kang is an individual of entities, right? And entities that make up an individual, but each Kang has their own agenda. Who that sound like? Who's that? Who does that sound like? Who has been isolated to the point that everybody on the planet is basically against them? Who has been pushed to the point that even they own that they can't that they're seen even in their best light as whatever the label society gives them. Baby father, rapper, thug, criminal, baby daddy, felon, doorman, garbage man. Yes, the Moors, or more specifically, the so-called males, the so-called melanated males of all of the different societies, which in this case would be timeline. Have y'all heard of this passport bro shit? Right. This is an example of what I'm saying. The lady did a report and said that she was at the post office or whatever. She said, and it's flooded with men just ready to bounce. Like, if that happens to the society, what's going to happen to the society? If Because they finally believe it now. They've gotten to the point where a lot of these dudes have given up, and these are actually men of means. But to keep it real, they doing what the so-called sisters been doing from the time of Stella got a groove back. Sister had a whole movement called the divestment movement, where they picture themselves with their white men and how they fawn over them and how they like it so much better and all of that. Well, now these camps is leaving. What does that say? When the men and the women are so at odds that that's it. So whenever that happens, there's a collapse. And in that collapse is the time that the true powers reveal themselves. See what I'm saying? So again, what this image or understanding of what Kang represents, like I said, is to represent the idea of a nation of men under one idea. You understand? By themselves, fixated on conquering. This has a positive and a negative effect, which is why I said they probably toned it down. Because Thanos is different because he's purple. Kang is blue, but see what I'm saying? He's melanated under that. The blue represents the quantum realm. So the idea that men are taking advantage and starting businesses, see what I'm saying? And using those businesses to establish their own identity, right? Sitting on their own thrones, see, is a very powerful statement, a very powerful image. You understand? This is why they got rid of T'Challa. who another member of the Black Panther backcast wound up dead the other day. So that's like 15 people already murked behind that. See what I'm saying? So this activation that's happening within the men, right, is having a negative effect on the outer situation. So the outer situation then wants to create a circumstance where it can be vilified. See what I'm saying? But in actuality, at the end of time, which in this case would be the 30th century, if you're going by this so-called propaganda film, to the beginning of time, see to the end of time, you see on both sides of the spectrum, the original man is there in the same purple robes that the Phoenician high priests wear, mind you. Mind you, remember, this all goes back to the Moors and the Phoenicians, right? The Moors, who are the Phoenicians, who are the Carthaginians, who are the other ones? The Egyptians, right? It's us. Don't hate, congratulate. It's the Murex dye that we brought to the world, to Europe, to everybody to get their garments lit. So they already, you know what I'm saying, letting us know that it's coming, the green and the purple. It's the energy they going for. Then they give you the triangle, showing you the three eras. The so-called Atlantean era in the front, the so-called Egyptian. The Atlantean era would be like the Phoenician. This would be like the Phoenician, um, you know what I'm saying, Carthaginian type era, the high priest rule. Then you get the Ramatut era, right? And then this is like the post-future era. But in all realities, the blue and the purple is the signifying factor. It's the energy of the red and the blue. Red shift energy, blue shift energy, making purple. RNA, DNA. So when they killed the young man, this is also again that was also a Phoenician ritual, like I said, because you see the name of the actual guy is called Tyree Purple, Tyree Nichols, right? Tyree Nichols. They were wasting up. See what I mean? Like, so that blue quantum Murex, remember the priests in them used to drink that. They used to use it in bathing and shit like that. Like, so that's genetically a part of us. That's in us. That added to our ability to interact with the limestones and all of that. Because all the limestones and all of that, remember, our people knew what was up. We knew that the ruins and everything around was from the great flood and all of that that destroyed the societies and the cultures of the old and all of that beforehand. Like, we knew all of that. So we knew how to, because we was the ones cutting them up. You understand? He was the ones like cutting them up, turning them into stone. And then the giants and stuff that was left, we just used them to, you know what I mean, fight against the old, real old stuff. That's how the Moors got all of these old maps and went to all of these old places. Dug them, literally dug them out, repopulated. So the problem now is that the so-called multiverse is broken, as you see. And or what does this look like though? It looks like a bunch of red tape, right? Right? A bunch of red tape. And that's basically what's happening, what happened with the government. The government is basically at war with the populace because too many Kangs is being woke, but like awake, not, and too many scandals and stuff is happening to the point that they can't control it. Okay? So the more control and stuff that they try to institute on YouTube and stuff like that, the more people's making TikTok videos and all this other crap. That's adding distraction, but it's also overloading the algorithm. Because in the end, these are still all machines that are programmed by insane maniacs. So these people are not, or these machines are not totally, 100 in their processing factors, meaning that they're not as reliable as they make them think. Because the reality states that they're moving in an opposite direction. They're trying to transhumanize everyone, and everybody is moving towards a different way. And at the center of that, again, is the so-called black man, who is both a so-called pawn, but is now a negotiable factor. Like the fact that Adidas has to turn their tails and come back to Kanye in order for them to make any money shows you how much leverage a person can have, and that everything that he basically said about him is true. So the fail-safe in this is the so-called woman, so-called black woman, who can now be isolated because she has now become totally dependent on corporate culture. Corporate culture is the communism. Corporate culture is the denationalization. Everything else is just that. Like in they showed Kang in Tenet. You know what I'm saying? Like this dude. You watch that movie, you basically realize that he's the one running the organization in the future. You get what I'm saying? So in all of these futures, in all of these realms, outside of this one, you see these so-called black males ruling shit. So that means that that's like that in every reality but this one? No. What that means is that there's so-called melanated people at the top with these people above or directly below that's helping them manipulate this thing. The actors we see are just the ones that we see, but the real ones are the ones that are entrenched in the actual system. You know what I'm saying? Long-term administrative puppets. Those are the ones who got to get out. Those are the ones that keep pushing the same agenda. And they are deeply satanic. And but the satanic that this person is wearing or believes in is totally different than what this really represents. This is really a symbol of the womb, the uterus. To keep Kangs from coming into the timeline. Because eventually one of them is going to get through. And it's not going to be good for them. Because he's actually going to do it. No matter what Antichrist, whatever they got popping, whatever they got, whatever, this one is actually going to do it. This one is actually coming from the ether itself. You understand? Ether itself is manifesting this thing. It already manifested it in the screen. Of all of the, because see, the funny thing in the books, Kang is white. Kang been white for as long as I remember. As long as I've been reading comics, Kang white. But now he not. He melanated now. So now it takes on a different perspective. But they gotta give him strength, but not make him too powerful. They gotta give him all, but not too disengaging. See? So of course they'll use this dude to do it. But the ether already willed this into existence. So the very element of this existing, right, means that this exists. Which means that if it exists, it means it could exist and does exist here. Understand? Like, watch. Next convention next year, you're gonna see mad people just like Kang. Nobody was dressing like Kang. They care about Kang. Doom, okay, that's, you know what I'm saying? It's something different. But Kang, like, this is some B-list dude or whatever. Boom, put a black man on it, put a more in the suit. It's a whole different thing. Like, damn, we didn't even realize. Everybody hate the movie, but they love Kang. Damn, what we gonna do? Damn, we're gonna have to put Kang in everything. See, because they stupid. They don't understand that less is more. Understand? But regardless to what it is, the very fact that it exists, it's different. Like I was watching a thing, and Jonathan Majors was walking onto the carpet, and he had like the bodyguards walking with him, and there was a little Caucasian kid, and he had a cane mask, and they was all screaming at him. But when he walked past the kid, he had walked past him, but he obviously heard the little boy. And then he turned and he seen him with the Kang helmet. He's like, oh, okay, little Kang. And started signing and shit. I said, oh, it's over. It's over. Right when they try to come out and make people, you know what I'm saying, hate black men and shit like that or whatever, boom. It's all, see? Yeah, that's why they gotta have different versions of it. They gotta have you gotta have a hard Kang, then you gotta have a good Kang. See, because that's the thing. They're able to manipulate it. T'Challa, he just T'Challa. And they messed up with that. You know how much money they lost off of that? They still losing money off of Black Panther. Don't let them fool you. And I'm relating this to real life because these are the distractions that are used. But through the distractions, they're telling you about what's happening. That whole Ant-Man shit was about the Ukraine war. They told you all about the war in it. Now, boom. They was already in that. First of all, Scott and them is Ukrainian. That's why they had to be Ant-Man, because he got Ukrainian heritage in the comic. And then what you call it, and the act, I think. Also, they from that area. When Ant-Man was doing work, the character was doing work, he was doing work in the Cold War in the Eastern Bloc. That's Ukraine and all of that. So that's it right there. And boom, they got a secret weapon. They got secret bio labs, right? They go to the crib. He find out his daughter got a secret bio lab going. He ain't tell nobody. At the same time, his wife wound up wanting to shut everything down because she don't want to tell him that she was, had a whole nother life in the quantum realm. So Hank is Biden. He don't know nothing. What's her name? Is Jill Biden. Jill Biden, excuse me. Paul Rudd is Hunter Biden. You see what I'm saying? And the daughter is what's her name? The the what you call it? The brother that Hunter was trying to get with. You know what I'm saying? And in the quantum realm, who's locked up there? He said, wait, what? Exactly. This is what I'm saying. All of this shit be veiled allegories to what's happening, what they actually doing. When they went down to the quantum realm, everybody had the mask on, like COVID, right? When it was in the quantum realm, how everybody got the mask on, they in the quantum realm, they got the mask on, but the people who just came from Earth with a whole nother environment, they ain't wearing no mask and they ain't choking. Boom, showing you COVID bullshit, right? They wanted you to drink. They wanted you to drink the gelatinous man wanted you to drink it. That's the code. That's code. That was COVID. See, COVID didn't have any holes. When they give you the test for the COVID, where they put the needles? Where they put the needles? In your nose, right? In your holes, right? Right? And what was the whole gag? The whole gag was the nose, right? We got different holes, right? Right. And when he drank the ooze, where did he drink it? His nose, right? His nose, right? And then he was able to listen, and then he was able to understand everybody, right? Right. Drink the ooze, right? And then what happened? He could hear everybody. He could understand all the stupid people. You know what I'm saying? Right? But we grew up with Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles told us you can't drink the ooze because that's going to turn you into a mutant, right? Didn't they tell us that? Didn't they tell us that? See how one programming from one era they get switched over. Now the ooze is good. The ooze been bad all these years. Now they want you to drink it. But that little look at the COVID image and then look at the little man, the little blob man. That was that's COVID. And they all took it. Then they all took boom, right? Then they all went to the bar because all the bars was open. Everything was closed, but they was able to go to the bar, right? Just like during COVID, you could go to the bar, you could go to the strip club, right? Go to the porno store, right? Go to the liquor store, right? But where's Kang? Kang's trying to bring order to the shit. Wasn't he? He had them niggas, he had them blue face niggas, right? Blue face, right? Money, hundreds. Look at all of them people, blue face. That's all of the money Kang had. Kang came there marooned and turned it into an empire. Think about that. And now he ready to go and stop the versions of him that's running out of control. And who came to stop him? Biden. Biden, Hunter, Dr. Jill Biden, and and Kamala as a little girl in the broadcast, you know. And they had no. Hunter was Modoc. My bad. Hunter is Modoc, right? They kept telling him not to be a dick, right? But it's a family film. You can't show an action scene, but you could say penis, right? I'm going through the whole shit. I'm showing you. She just magically knew how to put a whole quantum device together, and now they there, just like Kamala, right? She just came in one day and knew how to do shit. Now she vice president, right? Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me what I'm saying in the movie that you saw and what I'm saying is different. Like I'm showing you what it's really about, yo. Boom. Then what happens? They get down there. Kang stopped them from drinking. They in the bar. He stopped them from drinking, right? He bring them back. He mad at her because she stranded him. Look, the white woman with privilege. Look, the white woman with privilege strands him, the Karen, Catwoman, strands him there. He can't leave. She out. She done forgot. Cause remember, in Loki, he shut the whole timeline down. So what we're seeing didn't exist until what happened in Loki happened at the end of him getting killed. So for what he know, he's always still existed. But what we know as the viewers is he didn't exist until this thing happened. Now that this happened, he is going back to what he was already doing. So if time or reality can be switched like that quick, seamlessly, how many times do you think that's happened in your lifetime, in my lifetime? You understand what I'm saying? It's showing us what is happening. Why shit seems different one day and one day is cool. One day you leave something somewhere, and then the next day it's not there. It's somewhere else. Because we're in this flux time because of all the incursions. So now what happened? At the end, he stopped Hunter. Hunter's trying to stop. Hunter worked for him, right? And Kang is working in the quantum realm. He's working in a realm so finite and so vast we can't even perceive it. And he has conquered the whole thing. He put the trans people in the ghetto. Who's the leader of who's the rebellion? It's all trans people. He done shut that movement down, right? Right? He done shut all of that down, and he's dedicated to getting out and wiping out his lower self. You understand? This is the original man trying to break out away from the abject treatment that he is given by always being perceived in his lower self. Isn't that what the passport rose said? Isn't that what he's saying? Isn't that what they're saying? Right. His lower self is what took him out. And what was his lower self? All of the different variations. Now apply that to black on black murders. What if all of these, now I'm not condoning black on black crime, melanated murder or melanated murder. I'm not advocating white on white murder. I'm not advocating murder or no murder. I'm saying we're speaking as rational scientists, right? Occasional comic enthusiasts, right? At least science fiction enthusiasts, right? What if all of these killings and stuff that's happening with these brothers is what they are projecting Kang to be? What if we are all different versions of ourselves who are trapped in the lower realm, who are so disgusted by it that they're trying to get rid of as many versions of themselves as possible, which by circumstance would create a populace that's left of men who are totally done with the whole situation. What that does is create cosmic thinking. This has now become ether-based thinking that these men are on. It's material by saying passport, this, that, divestment, this, that, because it's the same for the women. But we're speaking in of the men right now. And as Kang as a representation of them that they want to push forward. Because this is what they're pushing forward. Okay? They're showing to basically trying to show through this Kang thing that you or so-called black males are multifaceted, are multi-universal. You hear what I'm saying? This is what this is psionically, psychically, physically projecting to the audience. The black male, you are no longer local to whatever reality that you're in. You understand? Now look at, since that has happened, how the passport thing and all of this other shit has exploded. It's no coincidence. This thinking, this cosmic based thinking, the idea, because think about it, you 85% your whole life all the time. Then you hear about certain situations, and then you just one day decide, nah, I'm not gonna put up with this. Nah, I'm not gonna be this. Nah, I'm not gonna do that. And then you actually change your life. You actually take your resources and apply it to something and start to commune with other men at a time where they're trying to destroy men from communicating and being men. Look at what they did to Tate. I'm not talking about the physical representation. I'm talking about what it represents and what it's activating in so-called black males and why they needed to come up with this character now to represent this. Because everything has to have a face in physical reality and you can't control it. Kang has different faces, so they can put different faces up and see which one people gravitate to. Everybody likes Kang, the real one we saw in the movie, but they probably dulled down because he's a man. People forgot what men look like. Didn't the prophet say in the book that one day little girls will walk around and point and say, "Look, mommy, that's a man." Didn't he say that? Yes, you're right, Lenny. You're right. His his love interest was Ramona Renslayer, and he met her at the beginning of time. She the one who gave him the initial pain and scars. And then he kept meeting her through time, trying to be with her. Based upon him being a control freak, he could never really settle down with it. Every time he did, it was always something had to happen. That's the tragedy of Kang. That's Othello. That's Othello. Look, they didn't tell us that both Darkseid in the movie and Thanos in the movie at some points was played by the melanated man. See, with the blue eyes, the quantum, and you couldn't reason with Thanos. Thanos didn't do it for glory. He did it for the culture. You know what I'm saying? Darkseid at the end of Justice League said, "No, we're gonna invade. We're gonna do it the old ways." This is the spirit. This is what I'm trying to express to you. This is the spirit. You understand? That exists in us, that we feel welling up in us, that they know exists. That's ready and thing. That's why they gotta slowly turn it up on us, because if they really turn it all the way up, they don't know what might come online, what could happen. Understand? That's why they want to make all of the men gay. That's why they want to make all of the heroes gay. That's why they want to make all the female heroes thing. Female girls didn't give a damn about being heroes like that. I mean, you have Wonder Woman and stuff like that, but they had their own thing. But no, they had to shut the male down. And the reason why the movies suck is because they're all villains, so they can't write heroes. How would a villain want to write a hero? This is how stupid they are. You know what I'm saying? All of these things are played by melanated men. All of the heroes of myth, cosmic relevance, all black men who, even if not, are perceived as heterosexual. Can't get past it. So this is what's waking up. That's why they wanted a whole generation of women raising boys, so that way the boys would be over emotional, going to be homosexual. It's one thing to have the need to be that. It's another thing to be engendered to it. That's just evil. to be forced into something, to be suggested into it just to spite the father. Like this blog where we talk about it. I'm gonna just make his son gay. Like what? The sexual tourism in Jamaica with the bamboo man is off the chain. But they always want to blame it on so-called black women. But what about all of these thousands of black women over the course of the time since Stella got her groove back, who've been going down to these places, having sex with different men, coming back pregnant, coming back with diseases, all types of shit. What about them? And where was their kids at when they were down there doing all this? So that can't stand. Therefore, the one who is the most persecuted is the one who is destined to undo it all. And the most persecuted, the most put down, most dejected, right? Look, they put Kang in a realm where he didn't even know existed. And he turned it into an empire, industry. In the course of a 20-minute, of a 2-hour movie. And will eventually become the Kang Yonder. He about to become the Beyonder. He about to become God. They're about to make Kang God. So if he is a representation of you, what's really going on? They must really be losing. You understand? Because they say, okay, we're gonna kill T'Challa and get rid of that and make T'Challa female. And then boom, they'll be this demoralized through that. And we'll just use Kang as like a filler while we figure out what we're gonna do. But again, man, the road to hell is led by the best intentions. Yeah, I knew I was gonna. That's what I was gonna say next. I said the next thing they're gonna do is they're gonna do a thing where they make him gay in another movie, and then the more just said it, yeah, they're gonna make him a gay body. Yeah, yeah, that was literally gonna be my next thing. That's why they set you up with it with the pink stuff. Understand? Because none of these guys are what they really portray. That's how you know that they're portraying entity. You understand? Certain actors, when possessed, do what they're gonna do, are able to tap into the entity that exists in the ether we talk, and that is Kang. The same way they type into an AI, get the AI to give them information, and they think they're talking to a computer. You're talking to one of the fallen that's posing as an AI, because the dead don't exist until the day that they rise. So until then, they don't know nothing. They can't give no information. So you get it from an entity that exists on a different plane that's trying to use you as a portal to get in here. And that's what all of these entities are. That's what they all are. Which then allows them to exist in another reality. Understand? The mind does not know the difference between what is imagined and what we distinguish that based upon what we tell ourselves. Islam? So the era in which Moors would be on top came the era in which the so-called whites and everybody else would be on top came. There's nothing else for them to do. That's why they gotta keep remaking the same shit, because there's nothing that they can't go beyond that point. To get beyond that point, that singularity, it has to be led by the original man. He has to be the doorway to it, because if not, they're not gonna let them do it. everybody talking about aliens that they talking to and all of that. These are just disembodied entities they done grown and made, shit like that. All the UFOs and stuff, that's old technology. If we seeing it, it's pitiful. You can look in the cloud and make out that that cloud is a UFO. That means that they're downstairs. Don't get caught up. No matter how big it is or whatever, don't get caught up. Because if it's physical, that means it could be shot down. Understand? The ones you got to look out for is the ones you can't see. The ones that just spontaneously appear. Mothership, according to Elijah Muhammad, is over 2 miles wide. These dudes is not, they can't mess with it. They locked in here. So they open up Antarctica. Look, Japan just found 7,000 more islands. How you just find 7,000 islands? 7,000 islands were just found off the coast. That's convenient. At the same time, the Japanese birth rate is plunging due to racism. Because Japanese can be very, really racist too. Xenophobic. You got to be the whitest of white, palest of pale for a lot of them, culturally, and that's okay because that's them. But plunging birth rates. Don't let them fool you. China is in no position to launch what they really want to launch. If they do, they really desperate. They do more damage like this than they would a formal invasion. You understand? They invaded through the cartel. The cartels wiped out all the black gangs after Tupac was killed. That's why they only prey on each other. Anybody else? These are just the Saudi Arabian royal guard. Just to show you how dark Saudi Arabians are. As racist as they are. Some of them, excuse me, not the people. Yeah, that's what's going on. So yeah, there is no Spanish American. It's only Moorish American. Just all Mexico is Moorish. All of this come out the ether. And like I said, the rise is on, and it's scaring people. The more videos that women make about how whack the passport flows and these types of people are, that's desperation. They smell it in the water. There's a shift coming with men. A lot of men are not going. Look, think about this. Women are the ones, again, present company excluded. Women are the ones that got, excuse me, Boule initiated those types of people, liberal, Democrat, feminists, those types. Those are the people who got by. All of the black males voted for Trump. Okay, so that alone was the first divide. And from there, the lesbian, what you call the groups, descended on these black women, used them as a means to promote all manner of what they wanted to see happen. Now it's come, the impasse has come, which we're approaching 2024. A group of people trying to wedge that even more. You're gonna start hearing phrases like poly crisis. You start hearing that, but just look out. That's them. That's a real that's desperate move. That's them basically realizing that they got a bunch of crises at the same time. There's a movie called Break, okay, that you can check out. It's Stephen Dorff. Yeah. No, Ryan Reynolds with Stephen Dorff. One it's called Break. It takes place in the back of a car. Or you'll see what I'm saying. It's a movie based on poly crisis. This what you're seeing is an example of TVA, civilization, corporate bureaucracy that he made and made in stories to police the universe. Which then, again, art imitates life. So they're saying that at the beginning and the end of the universe, there's a black man who created bureaucracies, timelines, and stuff like that to control it, right? What are they really telling us in terms of who's controlling it and why? What is it bringing out of us to be at the bottom for so long? As we're rising to the top, how do we benefit from it when everybody's against you? You create your own empire. What's the way that you do that? You get a woman. So it's not that men don't want to do that. It's the type of woman that they are seeing they don't want to marry. So they're willing to leave. Understand? It's crazy. It's crazy. And the thing is, like I said, women have been doing this for a long time. It's no shame in the game. That's what you want to do that. But don't make it a point to rub it in people's faces and shit like that, whether you're a man or woman. Just understanding what you're doing is taking your American situation and bringing it to another situation that may or may not work out. But the fact you're willing to do it isn't a positive one. It's a reality. So, like I said, when you do the stats on it, though, 50%, 54 to 50, 60% of all so-called black men still married within their race. So even the ones that's marrying other white women, there's still more black men marrying within their race. And that's the same for every race. That's what makes them the topographical designation of race. So like I said, if there's 100 billion people, right, and you want to see how those 100 billion people created, you just get all of the DNA of those 100 billion people, go through it, scanning and all that stuff, whatever. You would come up with so many possibilities that it would triple to quadruple the amount of people. That 100 billion. So you know what that means? That means that there's more beings that exist outside of this reality that actually exist within it. You know what I'm saying? That means that we being born into this reality is very special. No matter how bad or good it is. And that's what again, we should all give thanks for what images like this spark in people like me and others because like I said, the cat's already out the bag. They didn't already show that at the beginning and the time originally in the room. So they already done it. What's there to talk about? We just gotta get to the end. Anybody have any questions? You know what I mean? So again, everything they do is coming from a satanic perspective. You gotta see it for what it really is, and not get caught up in the fake reality of what they programmed everybody else to see it. This is an example as to why, like I said, this is the case, then this may explain why these murders and stuff like this is happening. And they've only been happening in the communities for the past 85 to 90 years. Prior to that, we were being killed by other people who had just come here to take what we had. It took 80 years for them to do that. It'll probably take us another 80 years to get through it. But if we've been here for 380,000 years, guaranteed we can prove that's longer than everybody else. And that's from the man, not the matrilineal, the patrilineal, from father to son, to son, to son, to son. See what I'm saying? So again, once women stop letting them put them over us, once men stop allowing their egos to push them away from them, it'll be over. Then we're gonna have a bunch of Kangs running around, but we're gonna be pulling from the ether both sides of what we need. Till then, we gotta do what we gotta do. Anybody have any other questions? Before it goes out? You can hit me up at houseofdown@hotmail.com, but for the most part, um, you could take an ad out in the paper, family nationality, from there, doing receiving from the paper affidavit of publishing, from that affidavit of publishing, do an affidavit of identity with that, take that down to the county clerk's office, for that, if they let you. If they don't, and they start pressuring you to do a photo of the name change, you can go do a photo of the name change, attach all of those documents to the name correction, get a fee waiver form, gotta waive the fee, the fee for the service, and get it done that way. Once that's done, correct whatever you need to correct, the name and everything associated with that on the Social Security, then you can establish a separate trust, you know what I'm saying? Separate um, uh, beneficial, owner or whatever, or trustee over that, and then start to build the identity. But it did be up houseofbella@hotmail.com. Anybody can hit me up at houseofbella@hotmail.com. If anybody wants $30 to Cash App to money sign capital PS418, please do so, or through PayPal through peopletiers@gmail.com. That would be great. And you don't have to go to our city tiers right now. That's down on the app or show up. And you can check out Gumroad, www.gumroad.com. Type in our city tiers in the chat, classes, PDFs and stuff up there. Also check out www.cordovaorganics.com as well. Check out YouTube, Rumble, email. Thank you guys for coming through. What are some ways to start your tribe search? Go by the maiden name of your oldest grandmother and your grandfather on both sides. So that's four. So that would be four different names. And then look up what's called the Dawes Rolls, DAWESROLLS rolls, and see if any of those names come up in the clans or tribes. Once you get that, then go and look at those so-called treaties that were associated with those. And then you would do SF 181 to make the formal declaration to put that out, to make the distinction and let everybody start knowing to function from that perspective. And do, like I said to the brother earlier about the name correction. There's other ways to do it too. Those are just two. Anything else more in depth, I mean, you can do people directly. I don't really have self paperwork, shit like that. But individual people, clients, whatever, I do it privately. Anybody else? So yeah, intention is everything. You know what I mean? So our ancestors, as high priests of our new in this age, what we start doing is focusing more on intent, talking to yourself, as well as you guys focus on what the intent of it all is. Manifesting it from actually writing it down and reading it out, and visualizing it, and making it. Go by your grandfather, grandmother on your mother's side, grandfather, father's side. Get their maiden names, or get their maiden names. Then go on those rolls and see if they're on any of the American Indian listings under those names. Then, if they are, find out what clan and tribes they are based upon the area. Even if they're not from the area, if you look up Greeks and the last name is under Greeks, then that means they're probably Greeks. That means that they are Nazi and shit like that. So you get that together on both sides of the family. Then look up where those clans were, what tribes were in those areas. and then see if those areas match areas where they were said to be born. Even if not, it doesn't matter. That works. And then once you have all of that, then you know you brought them together through affidavit and all of that, and now you can put that on the record that this is what you are. Say that you're not. You're that. You don't have to be recognized by the federal government to be what you say that you are. Indians that's paid for that are paid to be Indians. Paid to go along with scams. Anybody else? What do you mean downwards? I mean, they're gonna have dude in Creed, will be a man in Creed, and then after that they're gonna have him Dawes, Dawes, They're gonna have him play a man in Creed, crazy nigga in Creed, and then from there they're gonna have him be a big bodybuilder movie after that. But again, these actors are just that. They're actors. They're not, you know what I'm saying? It's what the entity they're representing is talking to you through the performance is what you need to pay attention to. Like I said, I just bust down how the whole Ant-Man shit is really about Ukraine. You know what I'm saying? It's really all about that. And at the end, they was able to go home, but then he was like, well, damn, did this really happen? That really happened? Is he really coming back to this? And everything changed. When he came back, he was in a different time. Go back and look at the movie when he's walking past the first time, the wall is just a heart. When he comes back, the wall say got an Ant-Man in it. When he go in the store the first time, the dude say that shit is stuff is free. Come back at the end of the movie, he say it's $12. You know what I'm saying? Because the new script is being written by us. Think about all the stuff we done built in just for this class alone and coming fast since we've been doing this. You know what I'm saying? We're not prophets, we're not psychics. I mean, we are, but we're not. That's right. Brother said, love instead of hate, no amount of paperwork you think is going to help. Exactly. Like I said, your vibration is so high, you don't got to worry about it. They don't even mess with you because they don't hate to mess with you. They got all these other people under control. Understand? So, thank you guys for coming through. Thank you guys for sending that. Appreciate that. If you haven't, appreciate it if you do. And yeah, just to be back next week and take it from there. But that's my take on this whole situation. And again, showing improvement. All of the more stuff, all of the Omnes stuff, all of that stuff, Washington stuff, all that stuff is true. And that's why they don't want us to be more. Because all that other shit is inferior. They don't want you to be it. They don't want us to be fans. We show about self that we erect empires and shut shit down. So they got us locked in a quantum realm, i.e., niggerdom. And once you step outside of niggerdom, like thermodynamics, now you become a time lord. You know what I'm saying? Because now we exist in a time stream that's governed by ancient primordial forces that are communicating now to us through everything we're doing. So long as we understand the language, through the symbolism, we're able to take control because that's the only way type 2 civilization will be able to communicate. Understand? You can't even imagine the levels of that in terms of actual uh, perception, because the reality of the so sky driven or space driven stuff existed, and be able to move into realities and take over wouldn't be a society that would do it. Because the higher you get into the realm of reality, the more you realize you shouldn't affect anything in the lower realm because you get caught up. Understand? So all of that societies are based on what they call, to close out, or what they call the partnership scale. The partnership scale is known, distinguishes the three stages of evolution and civilization according to the double criterion of access used to the energy. For the purpose of this classification is used to guide the search of extraterrestrial civilization. So this is the scale of civilization. Type 0 civilization that harnesses energy of its own planet, not its full potential. It's us. Type 1 is a civilization capable of harnessing the total energy of the whole planet. It's also us. Type 2, interstellar civilization capable of harnessing the total energy of the star. See, that's beyond. The highest among the bodies of orbit, the highest is the type 6, which would be technically 7, which would be exists outside of time and space and is capable of creating universes and multiverses, destroying them just as easily. Similar to the concept of the deity, so encompassing and imperceivable, meaning that it would be so imperceivable and impossible if this civilization existed that it wouldn't even perceive us. Okay? So any alien, this goes to the alien invasion. So when they flip that bullshit, any alien coming that's not us, it's fake or one of the versions that they created. But and if they're using technology that we can recognize from a movie, it's even worse. Because then that means that they're terrestrial, which means that they're finite, which means that they're a lower life form. Because a lower life form doesn't take a higher life form doesn't take from it. That's how you know. So when the Bible when it says they come like a thief in the night, I'm thinking of these things once it really gets off, they're just gonna start just getting people body it. You're just gonna wake up in reality. You don't need to come and be you and do nothing. They want you in nine dimension. So yeah, Ohio pipeline, that's all an attack on the infrastructure. They're trying to break it up. They're trying to do that again in another thing, but they also did it to burn up the fentanyl. It's the things, all the chemicals is used in fentanyl creation by the cartels. So a lot of them have taken out. So again, there's always two sides to it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's a hop. And remember, White Noise. Go back and look at that on Netflix. Like I told you, check out The Consultant. This is what they do to young rappers. And watch that in terms of the deal they did. Then they wanted to deal. And look at White Noise that gets into the Ohio derailment and all that. Don't look up. Yeah. So yeah, man, that's what it is. Yeah, we was pangs. You know what I'm saying? And it looks like we're on our way to be that again. In some reality, there's an entire coliseum for the angry pangs screaming, bugging out. Like, what are we gonna do to get rid of everybody? These niggas got to go. understand what I'm saying? They're not showing us this for no reason. Understand? Why would they want to show us anything with black men and black people are together unified around a common cause? Think about it. Think about it, y'all. And why would they put it in all movies and that's man, you know this shit come from the smallest places. Before you know it, these niggas is everywhere. Shutting everything that we want to do down. What are they gonna do? You get what I'm saying? So yeah, that's it. Anybody else? Okay. Well, then, thank you guys for coming through. Thank you guys for participating. Thank you guys for sending that. Thank you for the continued support over the years. And yeah, man, a lot of stuff is going down with regards to what they say. Spiritually, is coming together on a higher plane that they have no way really of stopping unless they create a bunch of alternate versions, i.e. Avengers, to help create another false timeline, put them in. Same way they did in Thanos. The whole country is falling apart. Who shows up to help? Not the president. So again, it's all leading to a head. So get prepared. And I think nationality is the best way. So, all right. Peace.